This video is brought to you by iStock by Getty Images. Check them out at iStock.com. On January 9th, 2007, Steve Jobs took to the stage knowing he was about to reshape the technological landscape.
Every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything.
And it was a revolutionary product not because of what it did, but because of how you operated it.
But what we're going to do is get rid of all these buttons and just make a giant screen.
The original iPhone was a hybrid handheld device, much like the other, rather homely gadgets of the era. So the iPhone's features didn't set it apart. What set it apart was its input technology, multi-touch. And despite Steve Jobs' sweeping claim,
we have invented a new technology called multi-touch.
This was actually a technology that had been developing for decades. However, Apple's implementation was unprecedented. They put multi-touch on a pretty affordable handheld device, not an expensive table-like contraption, which is the path others were on. And this innovation opened up a vast frontier of possibilities. It gave Apple a blank slate, literally. The challenge was how to orient users with a device that was pretty much nothing but screen. Firstly, the interface was grounded in a couple smartphone cliches, rows of application icons, and a status bar with battery life, signal strength, and the time. This was basically how most smartphones worked. But from there on, most of the iPhone's interface influences came from outside the realm of smartphones, and many came from real-world objects we already understood. The device lock was like a latch, complete with a lock sound. The keyboard tap animation was modeled after a typewriter, and there was a clicking sound to further the sensation. The wheel for setting dates and times was like a slot machine or an odometer. Album covers flipped over to show the track listings like an actual record or CD. Swiping through images was like flipping through book pages. Emailing photos tucked them into a message as if you were literally mailing a print. There were lots of switches and lots and lots and lots of buttons, often colored like traffic signals to imply stop or go. And with its visual style, the iPhone labored to give the illusion of depth. There was lots of beveling, embossing, shadows, and gloss effects that simulated the qualities of three-dimensional objects. New technologies often map their appearance and their features to technologies we already understand. This is called skeuomorphism. So early cars looked like horse carriages, early plastic products sometimes looked like wood, and the first commercial computer to feature a graphical user interface, the Xerox Star, based its interface on the Office desktop. But the focus on real-world objects in iOS became increasingly literal. Game Center looked like a green felt game table, iBooks looked like a bookshelf, and the calendar app looked like Take a Wild Guess. And then there was the podcast app, which looked like a reel-to-reel tape deck, so you could get that 1970s surveillance feeling. Now, by 2010, the iPhone's influence had utterly transformed the smartphone landscape. Multi-touch devices were so widely adopted and understood that referencing physical objects in the interface started to seem old-fashioned. It was Microsoft that began stripping these cues out with Windows Phone, and Android soon followed suit. In this new era, with stronger competitors who had already copied Apple's ideas and were even evolving them, the iPhone started to look dated. iOS needed a refresh, but rather than seeking inspiration from outside the realm of smartphones, most of its influences came from within, and its new features seemed compiled from other smartphone software. Most immediately apparent is the 3D wallpaper feature called Parallax. This effect was demoed as early as 2009, then it was available as a jailbreak app called Deepend. The Control Center has been around in various versions of Android, like TouchWiz and Android 4. The pull-down notifications were copied from Android in the earlier iOS 5. Multitasking follows the template of Android, Windows Phone, and maybe even the departed Palm Pre. The Mail application adds swiping gestures like the app Mailbox, and the swipe back feature recalls the slide-out drawers in Android. iRadio is simply Apple's version of Pandora. AirDrop is similar to the Beam features on Android, although you don't have to press your phones together like you're doing a smartphone mind meld. And the visual style of iOS 7 is the same approach as Windows Phone and Android. 3D embellishments are scaled back in favor of a simplified, flatter, and more iconic look. The original iOS and iOS 7 illustrate two different kinds of copying in two very different creative landscapes. The original iPhone was developed in an era before multi-touch was mainstream, and one of the techniques Apple employed to make this new device familiar was mimicking physical objects. iOS 7 arrives in a world dominated by multi-touch, where these devices are so familiar we've begun removing these physical references. Surprising and delighting users in this era must be a lot harder than in 2007, but drawing influences from more surprising and delightful sources would likely help. Then again, perhaps it's not fair to expect surprise and delight from smartphones anymore. Perhaps for that we need a new frontier, we need a new blank slate. Hi there, long time no see. My name's Kirby. I made this video. I made the other Everything is a Remix videos. Thank you for watching. Thank you to iStock by Getty Images for their support and for their patience. Thank you to Garrett Weinholtz, who helped out with the research. And just to clarify, this is not the beginning of a new series. It's not part 5 of the previous series. It's just a one-off on a specific topic. And hopefully there'll be more of them, but they will be pretty infrequent, probably. However, I do have a new series, and it is called This Is Not a Conspiracy Theory, and it is about the forces that shape our lives. And it's going to be a paid series. It's basically a feature documentary that will be delivered in installments, and you can be involved, and you can see how the production unfolds, you can give feedback, and you can potentially influence the course of the series. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Basically, I'm telling you that there's a new series coming. If you'd like to find out about it, go to thisisnotaconspiracytheory.com. Sign up for the mailing list. That is the best way to not miss a thing. Also, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. You can even pre-order it if you want, but being as there's nothing to see yet, maybe you just want a heads up for when the series actually starts. So, this is not a conspiracy theory. It's coming in the near future. I don't think you're going to want to miss it. It's going to be good. I'll just say good. I won't oversell it. So, I'll be back then, pretty soon. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you really soon. Take care. Bye-bye.